Hi, welcome back. We are making Jolly. If you remember beforehand or my last video on my speed art where I came in and introduced myself, this is just a quick little relap of drawing Jolly. Check out that video if you want to learn a little bit more about myself. But here we are making her full-on process. I will come in, explain what's going on. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As we move on making her face, first things first, I create a tinfoil structure on how I want her head to look. Most likely getting the shape and how big I want it to be, and it will also help me judge how big the body is going to be. I start adding clay to it. I take this time to cover any places that tinfoil will be sticking out of, and so on and so forth. And also using tinfoil as a structure, or basically your base, will help you save a little bit more clay and not having to waste more by using more and more clay as the base, basically. Once I get the tinfoil covered with clay, I give her guidelines. These guidelines will tell me where I want her eyes, nose, and lip to sit. I start off with the nose. If the nose comes out too skinny for my liking, I always add a little bit more clay and shape it to how I want it. Afterwards, I start off with her lips. I add a small guideline so I know where I want her lips to sit. Of course, this doll is going to have a smile. This will help me guide it and get it in the shape I want it to be. Always start off with the top lip, and then after getting the top lip to where I like it, I move on to the bottom.
Why be together right now?
sculpting the face how I want it to be, I start adding holes where her eyes are going to sit. Before adding any cracks, I do a wash over with rubbing alcohol to make sure it's nice and smooth and remove any fingerprints I might have left on. After the clay bakes and I let it sit to cool, I start removing the tinfoil from the head. This will make it easier for me to put the eyes in. Before I begin sculpting the chest, hips, hands, and feet, I wanted to round out the areas around the eyes. I also wanted to create the solution that they're deeper in within the head. Just like the head, I take some tinfoil and create a rough draft how I want the chest to be. I also do this with the hips. Before I bake the chest, I indent where I want her arms to sit. These will become her shoulders. Just like the chest, the hips get a similar treatment. After baking, those joints will become part of the hips and it'll help me guideline where I want her legs to be. As I make the hands, I always start off with the thumbs. It will help me determine which one's right and which one's left. Also, make sure I don't make two lefts or two rights.
Defeated, holding on to something I've needed. I'm looking for a reason, finding out you're wanting a demon. Helpless, defeated, holding on to something I've needed. I'm looking for a reason, finding out you're wanting a demon. And you took it all away from me. And you took it all away.
As I said before, after I bake the hips and take the tinfoil out, I attach the joints to them. I make sure they sit properly so when the doll gets strung up, they can sit and stand.
Holding on. Don't let me repeat it.
change, but so can you. So can you. For too long about the mistakes, while I resent, I learned to hate. Forgot your names. Fear the struggle to follow on. Need to focus to prove you're wrong. I'm not wrong. I know I'm holding on to this. Holding on. I know I know I'm holding on to this. Holding on. Don't let me repeat it.
As we move on making the arms, I use the shoulder joints to connect the arms to. I make sure both arms are similar sizes before moving on and creating indents where her elbows are going to sit. The legs get a similar treatment. It's usually a very back and forth process.
Holding on to this. Holding on. Holding on. Holding on. Holding on. Holding on. Holding on.
the areas that rub the most stronger, I use a Pocky Scope, which is a part A and B clay component, and you have an hour's work time. To help smooth it out easier, I use water. As we move on to painting, these are the paint colors I'm going to use. I use Craftsmart's White, Craftsmart's Black, Craftsmart's Light Yellow, Apple Barrel Pink Parfait, Craftsmart's Great Taffy, Craftsmart's Pale Blue, Craftsmart's Dark Blue, Craftsmart's Cherry Cobbler, Fancherie's Airbrush Paint Red, and Decker's Art Bright Orange. As we begin painting, I mix white and light yellow together to create a pale yellow. This would be her skin tone. While the head dries, I go in with the first coat of the bright orange for her shoes. While her feet and face dry between layers, I decided to get started with the hands. I mixed white with a little bit of black to create a light gray color, which would be the color for her gloves. After her face dry, I mixed together the cherry cobbler and pink parfait to create the right color for the pink markings on her face. While her pink markings dry, I go in with the dark blue and copy the same mimic. Instead of on the bottom, it will be on the top. While her markings dry, I mix together the pale blue and white to create her lipstick color. I take the red paint and mix a little bit of white into the paint just to slightly lighten up the red. I use that color to paint in her cheeks and nose. I take the black paint and begin to highlight her eyes a little bit, darkening the areas where they need to be darkened. After the orange paint dries, I take the gray taffy and begin to highlight the sections on the front of her shoe and her heel.
We're running out of options. I didn't know them, but we took every precaution.
After I got her fully painted and have the paint sealed, I put Jolly together. Jolly is being held together by a pre-measured elastic that is being held together by a hook in her head and smaller hooks on her hands and feet.
Just wanna stop it. Where do you turn when you need someone? Where do you hide when you just can't run? Where do you go when you have no home? When you have no hope? What do you do when you're losing sleep? When real life doesn't beat your dreams? I just wanna know if you feel it too. Is it me and you? All alone in a crowded room.
As we move on making her outfit, the colors I used was a green, yellow, and orange with painted on purple.
You don't know what I've been through. I don't know your past, but I would never claim to. I try to understand all of you said that you can't take back. Making mistakes doesn't make you bad. I know that it's hard to do. Where do you turn when you need
As I attach the fabrics together, I use this type of memory glue to do the job.
Your dreams. I just wanna know if you feel it too. Is it me and you? All alone in a crowded room.
This is what I get for not looking at a reference photo. Her arm sleeves should be yellow with green stripes. After getting her arm sleeves sewn on, I sew on her arm cuffs. After getting everything sewn on, to be honest, I forgot to record it, we move on to the photo shoot. It took me 1 week to complete Jolly, having a little bit of my ups and downs trying to figure out the skirt and such, but I am very happy how she turned out, especially in the black light. After all, I hope you enjoyed watching, and with that, I hope everybody has a good morning, good evening, and good night.